Good evening, it's William from WCP Models here. This is just the next build video for our Opel Blitz 116, and today we're going to be doing the rear axle and rear suspension assembly. Now here is our axle that we've already pre-built, and when you buy a kit from us, what we will do is supply the axle already pre-built. The reason for that is so that we can make sure that the axle is built straight and true. It's made of several parts that are 3D printed. It's then solvent welded together, and then the gears are then also adjusted so that the mesh is nice and smooth. So yeah, we're going to take this and we're going to install it. So what we have to do is, first of all, we're going to take these 3D printed helper springs and we're just going to slot them into the little channels that are already into the axle. We're then going to take the metal spring and we are then going to take some M2 long bolts. I'm going to pass that through. So we're going to put a washer on first, pass that through the leaf spring. Now, the good thing about how these are constructed is if you want to play around with the ride height, you can actually use different numbers of 3D printed helper springs, or if you require, we can also make some spacer blocks up. So, you know, the ride height is adjustable, it's not just as it comes, you can customize it as you see fit. And, you know, the same can be said on the front as well. If you find that it's sitting too low, then you can always add in a spacer and that will then raise it up a bit. Right, once these are put through, we're then going to put a washer on the back and then we're going to put on the nylock. And see the pair of pliers just to hold the nut. Now you'll notice that the actual bolt is very long. Obviously we could cut this off, but they're long. As I said before, we can vary the ride height, put in spacer blocks, so you know, you can cut them down once you've got that correct ride height. We'll come back in a minute once we've assembled all of them. So there we have it. The leaf springs and the leaf spring helpers are installed on our axle. Okay, the next thing is now installing onto the chassis. Now, on the front, there are little nylon spacers. They've got a big hole for the ones on the front. And in fact, before we put that on, what we're going to do is we're going to take the chassis, and as you can remember from the last video, we did put these little nuts on our M3 bolts. We're now going to put in a little washer. That's an M3 washer. And we're going to just stretch over the leaf spring on both sides. So you might need to bend it just a little. So that's it over there. And we're going to then take the nylon bush with the bigger hole. I'm going to slide it through. I'm going to put a washer. Ooh, and it would help if we picked up the right nylock. Then an M3 nylock. Okay, and let us go how that is. So we'll come back in a minute once we've done the other side. So that's the front is done. So we can actually rotate the axle. Right, now the job is to do the rear. Now, there are these little metal pieces. We need to use these. But before we put them on, we actually need to put on a nut first. So we're going to put in a nut on the back. what we're going to do is put on a washer. Then we're going to take the metal piece and we're going to stick that on. We're going to put on another washer, and then we're going to put on an M2.5 nylock. Okay, so there we have the back of the leaf. If you just bear with me, I'll come back in a minute, I'll do the other side. So now what we have on both sides are these leaf spring pivots. Right, we're going to take the nylon spacer or sleeve, and we're now going to put it into the end of the eyelet of the leaf, and then we're going to push it through home into the back of the leaf spring pivot. We've then got these small flipped head screws which go in from the back, and we then add the nut. So now what we have, if the leaf spring can move as such. Right, I'll come back in a minute. So there we have it. Our rear axle moves as such, and you can see the leaf spring is there. Right, now what we're going to do, I'm going to put the wheels on. So slide them on, and then what we've got here is actually an M2.5 bolt that secures those on. So that's that one on. There we have it. We've now got our rolling chassis, got full suspension front and rear. So the next videos we'll be doing the drive line with the drive shafts, both the front and the rear drive shaft, and we'll be doing the steering linkages. But yeah, there we have it. Thank you again for watching. We'll see you again. Take care.